I've decided to make and test a bunch of single oil soaps. I want to evaluate what each oil does on its own. I'm thinking this will be a practical guide for when it comes to formulating blends, when I can see what qualities each individual oil brings to the party. It's something I've been interested in doing for a while, and I'm not expecting to see vast differences between most of them, but there's only one way to find out for sure, and that's to do it. To keep things consistent for each test, I'm going to use 300 grams of oils. The super fat will be the standard 5% and water will be at 20%. The only difference is that I'm going to add a bit of colour to each one so I can keep track of which is which. I'll cut a few bars of each and test them at different time intervals, starting with when they're fresh out of the mould. I'm Rox. Let's crack on. Today I'm making 100% corn oil soap. Here's what it looks like on soap calc. Whenever I do a screenshot, it always looks a bit blurred when I edit into the video, so sorry about that. Corn oil is very high in linoleic acid and oleic acid, so it's going to be nice and conditioning. When I've used corn oil in soap in the past, the soap has always been great, and I can't understand why it's not used more often. I expect it's because it's not as trendy as other ingredients that have got better PR agents. It's such a shame, and based on my experience of using corn oil in a blend, I'd encourage you to give it a try. Now, I'll try not to bore you with the measuring and mixing part, so just speeding through that. The only thing worth mentioning for this part is it took absolutely ages to bring this to trace. Ages. I wasn't timing it, but I'd say at least 5 minutes, and it was still looking thin, but it was definitely emulsified, so I poured it into the mould. This also took a long time to set. After a few hours, I wanted to see how firm it was, how it was getting on, so I just touched the top lightly with my finger, expecting it to be hard. It wasn't remotely hard, and my finger went straight into the batter. Still, 24 hours later, and it was fine. So I'm just cutting this roughly into 5 little test size bars. It's easy to cut, not too soft or too hard. The soap has a nice texture, smooth and firm. Let's try it. Trying it out straight out of the mould, this corn oil soap was surprisingly bubbly. Given the soap calc scores, I got some nice big bubbles. Pop! And the lather became quite creamy. I'm interested to see how this performs when we test it again at later intervals. I've high hopes for it. Anyway, that's that. Today's single oil soap is 100% sunflower oil. Here's a quick look at what soap calc says about sunflower. The most prolific fatty acid here is linoleic. Now, linoleic acid has a bit of a bad rap for dreaded orange spots and rancidity, but I use a copious percentage in one of my soap ranges and I've never had that happen, not once. So don't blindly accept everything you hear as a universal truth when it comes to soap making. Try it for yourself and make your own conclusions. I'm colouring this with gold mica and zipping through the prep because you've probably seen that too many times, and let's face it, it's boring to watch unless you're a total soaping novice trying to get a handle on emulsion and trace. Once I added the lye, it took about 4 minutes to get it to a consistency where I was happy to pour it into the mould. I'm cutting this 2 days later. It did take a long time to set, but I only left it so long because I was so busy with other stuff that I put it on hold. At this point it was firm and cut cleanly. The soap itself was smooth, but it looked matte rather than glossy. I'm going to try it out. Similar to some of the other high omega-3 soaps, getting bubbles took some encouragement, but once the outer layer of the soap became more soluble, I started getting a few more bubbles, but not really any creamy lather, though I think this should improve over time as it cures. I'll find out in a couple of weeks' time when I try it again. There we go, 100% sunflower oil soap. Today I'm testing out 100% peanut or groundnut oil soap. Peanut, groundnut, they're the same thing. Here's what soap calc has to say. It's high in oleic acid and contains a substantial amount of linoleic acid too. Highly conditioning, but there's some palmitic and stearic in there as well, so we should expect some creaminess. Let's see if the end soap matches what soap calc says. Just zooming through the prep as normal. Maybe I should just cut to the chase and just go straight to the testing, but then you wouldn't get to see this money shot of the mica in oil. Besides, at least you know I've actually made it instead of cheating by just showing you some soap that I bought from a shop. Anyway, all in all, this soap took a whopping 7 minutes to get to a trace that I was happy to pour into the mould. Now this could matter if you want oils that take longer to trace when you're making a soap design that needs the batter to stay thin for as long as possible. 24 hours later and it's firm but not rock hard. Easy to cut with a silky smooth texture and a bit of gloss. Time to test it. Okay, so the bubbles are taking their time to put in an appearance, but they are coming, see? However, it's rather disappointing in the creaminess department. I was expecting more. Still, soap improves through curing, so I'll try one of the other bars at a later date and see how much difference time has made. That's 100% peanut oil soap ticked off the list. Today I'm making soap with 100% rapeseed oil. Here's the soap calc stats. Rapeseed contains mainly oleic and linoleic acid along with the rarer linolenic acid, which is an omega-3 fatty acid that adds to the conditioning qualities of soap. I read something about linolenic acid being a prostaglandin inhibitor that reduces inflammation, and I'm going to investigate that more because that really interests me. This time I've got to zone in on the prepper bit, at least this part, because I had a major wow moment when I mixed this royal blue mica with this rapeseed oil. It changed the blue and looked stunning. This effect reminds me of abalone, a kind of mother of pearl that comes from the shell of a type of marine snail. Alas, when I added the lye and started mixing, it turned this mouldy green colour. Ah well, if you use this oil, be prepared for it to change the colour of your mica. It took a good 5 minutes or so to get this emulsified and to a light trace, at which point I poured it into the mould. 24 hours later and it's set firm. Cutting it was easy and the fresh soap is nice, smooth, silky and opaque. Let's test it. It was slow to start but did build momentum, producing some decent bubbles, and here they are. It didn't seem to want to work up into a proper creamy lather though, but you know, that might change after it's cured a bit, and we'll find out when I test it the next time. So that's 100% rapeseed oil soap. Today I'm making 100% Shea Butter Soap. Here's what it looks like on soap calc. There's a good amount of stearic acid in there, which contributes to a rich, dense and creamy lather, and there's also lots of oleic acid, which is conditioning. I use a reasonably high percentage of Shea in my retail soaps. It's one of their main selling points. But how will 100% Shea Butter turn out? Let's find out. I'm just speeding through the mixing because that's not the focus here. We want to see the finished soap and test it out. It took a bit longer to get to trace than I expected. If you've ever experimented with adding straight stearic acid to a CP soap, you'll know that as soon as you add the lye, it goes thick and lumpy instantaneously. So I thought the 40% stearic acid content might make it get to a thick trace faster, but that didn't happen. It did set fairly quickly, but I left this for about 24 hours anyway. Any longer and this might have been harder to cut than it was. The soap was solid and took a bit of force to chop through it, but not too much. The texture seemed kind of dry in a way, for want of a better word, not as smooth and glossy as the liquid oil soaps I've made so far in this series. Let's try it out. Right out of the mould, the first thing I noticed with this 100% Shea Butter soap is that there's not much in the way of bubbles. As I keep going, I'm getting a few small bubbles, but even with working it fairly vigorously, the lather isn't getting as creamy as I thought it would. I'm guessing this is a solubility issue. The other thing I notice is that it leaves my skin feeling a bit sticky and slippy, though those two words seem kind of contradictory, but that's how it felt. I'm keen to see if this improves over time, and I'll find out when I test it again in a couple of weeks or so. . Okay, there we have 100% Shea Butter Soap. Thanks for watching. Today I'm getting stuck into 100% grapeseed oil soap. Let's have a shufty at what Soap Calc has to say. The biggest percentage of fatty acid is linoleic, so this should be beautifully conditioning. There's 8% palmitic in it, so that will add something to the creaminess. Well, let's find out what happened with this soap. As per usual, going to speed through the prep. This took around 5 minutes to get to a decent enough trace to pour, so faster than the peanut oil soap that I made on the same day. The fact that I made it not just on the same day but at the same time as the peanut soap is going to come into play 24 hours later in real time or any second in this video. Apologies for the next part of the video. I must have touched the camera lens with my greasy paws, but I do notice eventually. Anyway, 24 hours later and this is my grapeseed oil soap. I was going to leave it longer, but then decided that how long soap takes to get to a cuttable point should be part of the test. This is bendy. I've got a bendy soap. When I press it, it feels almost spongy and springy like memory foam when I give it a gentle squeeze. Maybe it's a normal soap thing, but I can't say I've ever noticed a soap do that before. Aside from that and the softness, it's nice and smooth and glossy. Even though it's not fully hard, I am going to do a lather test just to try to keep things consistent. Well, it's bubbling up a proper treat. I'm impressed. Getting some lovely lather. It's going nice and creamy too. Now this could be because it's still soft, so I'll try the other little chunk when it's actually hardened. Then I'll come back to it in a couple of weeks and see what it's like then. Okay, so that's the 100% grapeseed oil soap made. Today I'm making 100% rice bran oil soap. Here's what it looks like on Soap Calc. Sorry it looks a tad blurred. It always does when I do a screenshot and edit it into a video. Rice bran oil isn't notably high in any one particular fatty acid, but it does contain a reasonable amount of palmitic acid and some stearic, so that should push it into creamy territory, and there's enough linoleic, oleic and linolenic acid for it to be conditioning. I like using rice bran oil in some dog soap blends, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it does on its own. I'll speed through the measuring and mixing because we want to get to the testing. That's the whole point here. The only thing to report about mixing this is that it came to a medium thick trace very quickly. It happened so quickly I thought I might be getting false trace, so carried on blending just in case. My oils and lye were at room temperature and it was a very hot day, so not much danger of it being too cold to bring on false trace. So maybe rice bran oil is just a fast tracer if there is such a thing. This set very quickly too. With the palmitic and stearic content, I was worried that it might get hard to cut if I didn't watch out, so this is about 15 hours later. As usual, I'm just chopping this into 5 little test-sized chunks. It's nice and firm but easy to cut, neither too soft nor hard. The soap has a good texture, smooth and a bit fudgy. Let's test it. So, right out of the mould, this rice bran oil soap is giving good bubble. I'm getting some voluptuous bubbles from the get-go and the lather is becoming silky and creamy. I'll test it again in a couple of weeks and compare it with this to see what, if anything, has changed. Anyway, that's 100% rice bran oil soap. Thanks. Today I'm making 100% hempseed oil soap. Here's the Soap Calc stats. It boasts loads of linoleic acid and is notably high in linolenic acid. And if we look at what it says about conditioning qualities, it's right up there at a whopping 90. Speeding through the prep as usual, this emulsified faster than I thought it might, which is something to bear in mind, but nothing else to report. I'll just get it into the mould and cut to the chopping and testing. So I'm cutting this at about 36 hours, which is how long it took to set to a point where I could unmould and cut it. I'm loving the texture though. It's still fairly soft, but it has a lovely satin sheen that you probably can't see on camera. It reminds me of silken tofu, if you've ever had that. Let's test. I'm not getting many bubbles. I mean, they are there, but not impressive. Not much going on creaminess wise either, probably because of it being high in super conditioning fatty acids. Leaves my hands feeling a bit slimy too. Not a winner as a solo oil for me, but I'll see what it's like as it cures. Rightio, that's the 100% hempseed oil soap. Today I'm testing out 100% cocoa butter soap. Here's what my recipe looks like on soap calc. So there's a pretty much even split between palmitic, stearic and oleic acid. So in theory we should get a hard soap with stable, creamy, conditioning lather. Let's see how it works out. As for all the soaps in this series, it's not about the making but about what kind of soap we get at the end. So I'm just going to speed through all the prep. I thought this might trace faster than liquid oil soap batter, especially because of the stearic acid content, but it didn't. It took longer than I anticipated to get to even a light trace, so when it got to that point, that's when I poured it in the mould. I expected it to set quickly and be very hard. It did and was. I'm cutting this at around 24 hours and glad I didn't wait any longer. It's really hard and for me was bloody hard to cut through. You can see the pressure I'm having to apply. This soap was rock solid. I can still smell the cocoa, which is really nice. The soap's smooth and kind of more matte looking than the liquid oil soaps. Let's test it. Okay, fresh out of the mould, I'm not seeing many bubbles worth mentioning. Oh, hang on, there's one. I keep going and the bubbles are coming. So that's probably because it just needed a few moments to become more soluble. I was expecting it to be creamier, so I'm a little disappointed in that respect. This soap left my skin feeling a bit on the slimy, slippery side when I wasn't too keen on that feel, but my hands did feel lovely and soft when that sliminess wore off. I'm looking forward to seeing how this does after it's cured for a while. Right, that's 100% cocoa butter soap. Thank you for watching and I'll see you again later. Ta-ta! Okay, so today I'm revisiting the single oil soaps. Now I made the first one, which I think might have been the corn oil soap, I can't remember, on the 10th of July, and today it's the 19th of August. I made them all within about a week. So it's been a good month now since I've made them. So I'll just have a quick look at what they're like. So corn oil soap, sticky to the touch. Still, well, it's hard, yeah, but hard but not fully hard. Cocoa butter, very hard. That's what we'd expect. It's not sticky at all. Peanut oil, that's pretty hard, not sticky. Shea butter, pretty hard again, not sticky. Hempseed oil, which I was a bit underwhelmed with, that's slightly sticky but not as much as the corn oil, still very soft. Rapeseed oil, this one it's quite firm. Yeah, still got a little bit of squishiness at the edges to it. Quite firm, not particularly sticky. Sunflower oil, I think this was one of the last ones that I made. But as I say, they were all within a week. This is very, very sticky. Very sticky. Still pretty soft. Rice bran oil. That's pretty firm. Not sticky. Grapeseed oil, that is really soft. A little bit sticking to me, to come off my hands and everything. This is really, really soft, you know. I can squish that right in. Really soft, really sticky. Okay, let's test them. I can't remember the details of every single one. All I can really remember is being a bit underwhelmed with the hempseed soap, so let's see how that one goes. I'm going to have very clean hands after this. Okay, corn oil, no particular order, corn oil. Bubbling up nicely. Yeah, getting some good bubbles there. Does it cream up? I mean, I've got no complaints there at all about the bubbles. It's just it's very soft. Okay, rapeseed oil. And this was the unrefined rapeseed oil. I don't think we're getting as many bubbles there as we did with the corn oil. I'm a fan of corn oil in soap, I have to say. I think it's underrated. So those bubbles are smaller. There's a lot of them, but they're smaller, more compact. Yeah, more compact. So that's the rapeseed oil. Okay, let's try next. We'll try, I'm just going to do these in the order that I've got them laid out. So this is the sunflower oil. It's quite slimy. I think this was one of the last ones that I made. So yeah, we're getting bubbles. It's the smaller, more compact type. Just keep going. Yeah, we're not getting big bubbles there, but we're getting the bubbles. Feels, excuse me, it feels a bit slimy, I have to say. Oh look, that's improving, that's better. It feels a bit slimy, I have to say, but one thing I know is that when it feels slimy, I know that it's not going to dry my skin. And I am washing my hands an awful lot here, so the last thing I want is dry hands. There we are, that's the sunflower. I'm using fresh water every time here to make it a bit more of a kind of fair test. Okay, next we've got peanut oil. That's nice and firm. Let's see. And let's give it a chance, because when they're a bit harder, they can take more time to get going for the outside to start to solubilize. So again, smaller bubbles there. There we are, that's the peanut oil. Okay, next. Hemp oil. This is very soft. Let's see how this one is now. Yeah, it's doing better this time round, I think, than it did the first time round. It's very difficult to know how to describe bubbles, because basically we're getting big bubbles, medium bubbles, little bubbles, or no bubbles, and either lots of bubbles, some bubbles, or no bubbles. Whoops. So here with the hemp, we're getting some bubbles. Looks okay. That is much better than the first time I tried it when it was straight out of the mould. That is definitely better. But the soap is still quite soft. Yeah, I'm I'm happy with that, and it's creaming up, look. So yeah, no complaints now. Change the water again. Oh, 4 more to go. Let's see if I haven't forgotten one. Okay, next we have, right, grapeseed. Now this is the one, really soft. It's slippy. It's very slippy. Right, let's try it. So we're getting sparse bubbles. Let's call it that. Sparse bubbles. The bubbles are sparse. Hang on, let's see. Hang on. It's improving, it's improving, it's improving. Got more bubbles there. You know, that's okay. As I say, it's really slippy. Really soft still too. And I'm at it saying really loads again. Okay, so I know I'm being a tease. I'm going to save the shea and cocoa butter to last because I know that's what people want, are probably most interested in. So next is, there's only 3 to go anyway. Next is the rice bran oil. I honestly can't remember how this did first time round, but this is nice and hard, very firm, not slimy, not sticky. This is the oil. I use this a lot in my dog soaps. How's it doing? Yeah, some bubbles. Oh yeah, getting some fairly voluptuous bubbles there, so. Yeah, no complaints about that. Right, shea butter. Now because this is hard, it might take the outside a bit to get soluble. Get rid of that dripping tap. Sorry, didn't turn the tap off properly. So, let's doing it again. Okay, so this is not producing much in the way of bubbles. You know, they are there. Small, sort of foamy bubbles. I'll work this up. So yeah, you know, it's okay. I wouldn't expect 100% shea butter soap to be very bubbly, and it's not. You know, so this experiment really goes to show why really you need a blend to get a nice balance. So yeah, not great on the bubble front. Oh, I'm getting a very wet surface. Last but not least, cocoa butter. Again, like the shea butter, I'm not expecting masses of bubbles, and it will take a few moments for the outside layer to solubilize. Okay, so I don't think this one's doing as well as the shea butter did for the bubbles, but let's just keep going. No, there are some bubbles there, just very sparse. Hang on. Oh. One biggish bubble. So yeah, cocoa butter. Bit disappointing on the bubbles. So I think the winner for me today is, even though it's a bit sticky, is the corn oil. But we're still only a month or so in, because that is producing some nice bubbles just on its own. Today's winner, corn oil. I think today's loser, if we're talking about bubbles, has to be the cocoa butter. But we're going to leave these for a longer period, I think. I might try them next time when they're maybe in a couple of months and see how they're getting on, because there's some of those single oil soaps taking an awful long time to go hard. Okay, so that's the update. See you later. Hello, it's only me. It's been a while since I made the single oil soaps series. In fact, it's probably been more than 6 months. But today I'm going to bring you a 6 months-ish update on how those soaps are getting on. I'm going to start looking at some soaps that I'm going to discard before I even test them, and I'll just quickly run through why, and it's really obvious when you see them. The first one is our probably the worst affected is the Grapeseed Oil soap, and it's got, well, yeah, I don't think they're not spots so much as it's got a very brown tinge all around the edges. Doesn't smell great. It's gone rancid. It's very sticky. The soap's a little bit too heavy to. It's very sticky. And it's very, very soft. So I'm not going to bother testing that one. Next up is Rapeseed Oil. So this doesn't look great either. It's got a very brown tinge to it, and here on this edge, I'm hoping you can see that on camera, it's discoloured. It's really discoloured from this nice blue that's in the middle to a sort of greeny browny colour. It's hard, that part of it's fine, but no, because it's not looking great and, you know, obviously a bit rancid. Next up is the sunflower oil soap. Again, sunflower oil is absolutely fantastic, but when it comes to using it for a 100% oil soap, this bar suggests it's not a good idea. While I can't see any evidence of any dreaded orange spots, DOS or rancidity, and it smells okay, it is incredibly soft. It's really soft. So, and this is after 6-7 months, so totally unsuitable. Next up, and to my disappointment, because I do love corn oil in soap at smaller percentages, it's the corn oil soap that I'm discarding. It's hard-ish. Well, it's harder than some of the other ones that I'm discarding, but it still has a little bit of softness to it. It's very sticky. But yeah, you can see, especially around these corners, that it's squishy. So, unfortunately, I'm discarding this. I think I did have good things to say about this when I made it. I can't really remember, but great in smaller quantities, but not 100%. Okay, so another one, the last one that we won't be testing is this, unfortunately. It's a very trendy oil, I'm guessing. Hempseed oil. This doesn't look great. It's definitely got dreaded orange spots, rancidity. I think those two little depressions in there where my fingers have poked it in, but... So this does not look good, so unfortunately Hempseed, and it is very soft still. I remember there was one that was really spongy and bendy, but I can't remember which one it is. That one's not good, so we're not going to test that. I'm going to throw those all away. Okay, so for the ones that I am going to test that have survived for this length of time and are still looking good, of the soft, well, this is a control bar first of all. This is just 100% coconut oil. Looks great, really firm, a little bit of soda ash on, absolutely fine. Out of the liquid oil soaps, there's only two that appear to have survived this length of time, and this one is the peanut oil, groundnut, some people call it, or Rapeseed Oil. This one is really nice and firm. It's not affected by any DOS or discoloration. It looks good, so we'll test that. I can't remember whether I made one on 100% olive oil, but I did make 100% olive oil soap, and I'm sure that you will have seen people doing it. So I'll just include this one, whether or not I did do a video on the olive oil. So this is an olive oil soap. It is, I think this is a little bit tackier than the peanut oil. I nearly said peanut butter oil. Peanut oil soap, but really nice and firm. No dreaded orange spots or anything. Looks absolutely fine. So for our hard oils, oh no, we've got one more liquid oil soap to go, and that's the rice bran oil, and this one looks great too. It's still very firm, not sticky. It looks good. We'll test that. And then our remaining, the two that are left are the hard oils. So we've got the shea butter, which looks great, nice and firm, no dreaded orange spots, and cocoa butter, again really firm. This is probably, I think, firmer than the 100% coconut oil soap. That's really firm. I'll test that. Hey, so first up, let's try the Control Bar, the 100% coconut oil soap. So fine bubble. Fine bubble, but as we should all know, 100% coconut oil has a tendency to strip. It's such a good cleanser that it strips your skin of the oils and leaves your skin feeling tight and dry. So as far as coconut's concerned, I think if it was me, I think it's great. I mean, there's no question of that, but if you're going to use it at 100%, I would suggest maybe increasing the super fat so it's less drying. So next up, we'll try I'm going to try the other two liquid oil soaps first. So I'm going to try the peanut. So I'm getting some bubbles, but not massively bubbly. But they're there. You know, they're kind of more of the smaller, tighter bubbles. Super. Okay, so let's try the rice bran oil soap, and I'm guessing with the remaining liquid oil 100% liquid oil soaps that they're higher in oleic acid, and they're considerably higher than in oleic acid, with a much lesser proportion of the linoleic acid. But I can't remember offhand, especially with the oils that I'm not massively familiar with working with. But this is the rice bran oil. So we're getting I think the bubbles for this one are better than the peanut. They're larger. Not as big as the coconut oil, but they are bigger bubbles. Feels good. Didn't test the others for creaminess, but yeah, definitely creamy there. And I'm thinking that will be down to the rice bran having some, I don't know, stearic and palmitic acid content. But yeah, great. So you could get away with a 100% rice bran oil soap, I'm pretty sure. So next up, I've got the 100% olive oil, which I really don't remember making a video for 100% olive oil soap. I really don't. I've got dog hair on my hand because they get everywhere. I really don't remember doing a video for a 100% olive oil soap, but I've clearly made this as part of this series. Perhaps it could be that maybe the video didn't work, or there was something wrong with the video, so I didn't make it. Maybe I have, and maybe I have got one there and I've just forgotten, but I'm going to test it anyway. I mean, olive oil, 100% olive oil soap videos, I tend to the penny, there's loads of them, but I'm going to test it anyway. So again, we've got some bubbles going on. I think they look kind of equivalent to the rice bran kind of bubbles. There's a really ginormous bubble. Creamy. Maybe not as creamy as the rice bran. Yeah, so some great bubbles coming from that. I mean, look at those. Marvellous! Water's going pink from the neon colour I put in. So all that remains is the shea butter and the cocoa butter. This is a shea butter. Yeah, there's some weak bubbles. Because it's hard though, it might take a couple of moments just to start to solubilize. Oh no, they're okay. And I would expect this to be very creamy. That's really nice. There's lots of probably doesn't show up on camera, but there's quite a lot of very small tight bubbles there. Does that show it better? So that's the 100% shea butter. And finally, let's try the 100% cocoa butter soap. This might take some time to get going because it is super hard. You just need to let the water start to let the outside solubilize a little bit so it can get going. I do seem to remember, I don't know if I dare say it, but do I remember that we didn't get very many bubbles from this right at the beginning. Bubbles are coming. They're quite sparse. Just give it another go. Yeah, even with, I mean, they're there. But even with encouragement, I don't think we're getting a copious amount of bubbles. But, you know, does that matter? As long as it bubbles. And as for the creaminess, it's disappointing. I don't think the creaminess is anywhere near as good as some of the other ones. But other than that, great. Anyway, that's that. If by any chance I've got, if I remember, and because I still do have some bars left, I may come back in another 6 months and let's see how some of these are doing after a year. Have they survived? How are they performing? But that's it for today, and I'll see you later. Bye.